Welcome to Two Wheels, and doesn't time fly, eh? It moves on at a fair old rate. Doesn't seem like 5 minutes since we was last here, but it is in fact 12 months, yes. But now we're back at Birmingham's NEC.
That's right, because this is the International Motorcycle and Scooter Show.
And big scooters are big news, as my little friend Wayne has been finding out.
Hello, will you come up here? Thank you very much indeed. Now, I can't blame you having a look at the front there. It's quite impressive. It's very, very big. In fact, it looks just like a big touring bike, doesn't it? Well, it's not. It is a big bike. It's actually a big scooter, commonly known as a super scooter. It's the new machine from Yamaha, 500 cc's. It is different in the way they've constructed it, the way the frame is, the way the engine is, and so on. From the outside here, it does look like a nice regular scooter, 2 big seats, big fairing, big screen. But it does look very, very different underneath, and here's one we made earlier. Come and have a look at this. God, they'll pitch anything nowadays, won't they, eh? It is very, very different in every shape and form. First thing they've done is put the engine right where an engine lives on a motorbike, at the front and in the middle there. Okay? That helps with the suspension and the run of the machine, makes it handle just like an original motorcycle. You might ask, therefore, is how does the suspension work? Well, that's down in the bottom, underneath, right underneath. You'll never get a chance to see it. It's well hidden under there. It doesn't sit upright and bounce up and down like that. It's laid down. Very clever, very technical. And what's different about this machine, it's actually the drive mechanism, which on a lot of scooters is a belt. On this one, it's a chain. So it is very, very similar to a modern motorcycle, but the scooter format. Serious bit of touring device, lovely bit of kit, and very, very technical. So that would imagine, I would imagine, everybody would think, therefore, very, very costly. Well, just like all the other Yamahas that have been launched here at the show, nobody knows. We've no idea how much it's going to be. But I believe that in discussions, for the benefit of you, they're trying to keep the cost as low as possible to you, the consumer. So when it does come out in the near future, then you will get to know how much it is. But for the moment, I can't tell you.
MV Agusta, lusted after by many, and I rode a standard one earlier in the year, but now we have the SPR, and in fact, a Senna version. Both bikes share a lot of components. The engine's up from 126 brake to 140 brake. It's got an optional track day exhaust with it, close ratio gearbox, carbon fibre bits and pieces, 15,500 for the SPR, 17,000 for the identical spec but red and black Senna. The Senna's a limited edition one, they're only going to make 300 and only 18 for the UK, so get your order in now. But if you want to be really different, you've got to go for the MV Brutale Oro. And just look at this. I mean, the first thing that strikes you is the tank when you're sitting on the bike with these big extensions either side, big MV badges, but it's really something different, not the ordinary MV at all. Also what you've got, which is really going to be distinctive, is this headlamp at the front. It looks as though it's dribbled down, it looks as though it's been melted. Didn't like it in the photos, but for real, I must say, it looks pretty funky and completely different to anything else. Carbon fibre guard, big chunky forks there. At the back here, the exhaust system, unlike the F4 where it comes from under the seat, they've tandemed these two up here, so it sweeps up, 2 slash cut pipes there. All looks very different. And because this is the Oro version, it's got the magnesium swing arm, single-sided at this side, all gold, and the gold frame bits. Looks pretty trick, doesn't it? Mind you, it's going to cost you 20,000 quid, and there's only 300 of them, 15 for the UK.
Roll up, get your leaflets on the CBR 600. Look at that, they've got me working, honestly. This is a leaflet on the new CBR 600. There's 2 new models, and Paul's over there looking at me now, and I fancy a go. In fact, I can't wait to have a go.
Yes, you wish, don't you, Wayne? He's a lot safer behind that counter, believe me. But this is the new CBR 600F in 2 versions now, a stock model and a sport model. This is the stock version, and the obvious changes are, well, it looks a lot more aggressive than the old model. I think a lot more racy, a lot more sporty. Gone are the big vacuum cleaner pipes that we had on the old one. Remember them things that came out the front that I hated? They've gone, but we've still got air intakes. In fact, bigger air intakes than before, but they're now incorporated into the fairing, so it just looks a lot better. And we're pulling more air in. We've now got a bigger airbox. And would you believe, in the airbox, there are actually air reservoirs to cope with when you snap the throttle open, you need more air. So the reservoirs will pump the air in to the engine, and it should develop about 109 brake horsepower. And that's where you'll notice the biggest change when you ride the new CBR 600 on the throttle, because for the first time now it's fuel injected. Yes, all very, very high tech. Other changes, well, mechanical changes are minor really. Some changes to the frame up here. the headstock is a bit beefier, bigger and stronger than it was before. And down at the back of the engine mountings again, bigger, beefier and a bit stronger. And an interesting thing that I read in the Honda blurb is that the exhaust is supposed to be quieter than it was before. I don't quite understand that, because most people who buy this type of bike will just whip that off within the first few weeks and stick a race can on it, because everybody wants to make noise, it seems. So they've made it quieter. I'm sure there's good reason for it. But the biggest change, and the thing that Honda are happiest about, is the weight saving, because they've saved a lot of weight now on this new model. And where we had steel before, we've now got aluminium in the fork internals. We've got aluminium replacing steel, and even down as far as the calipers. The pistons in the calipers, they were steel before, they're now aluminium. But there it is, that's the stock model. That'll cost you £6,900 or thereabouts on the road. But the other version is here, just beside it. This is the sport version, £450 more. So for £450 you get a different paint job, this black and red sort of SP1 style racy paint job. And the biggest change, obvious change, is the seat unit. Two-piece sort of racing style seat unit now. So it's certainly not going to be as comfortable as that other one with the dual seat, so less comfort on that. And that's really it. I'll tell you what else you get for £450 extra. You get stronger valve springs. However you're going to notice that, I don't know. And strangely, you get an extra tooth on the race sprocket. And that's about it. But you pay more, you pay £450 more, and you don't even get a centre stand. Centre stand on the stock model, only a side stand on the sport. So there we have it now, two versions of the new CBR 600. Take your pick.
Now, as we've already said, this is in fact the motorcycle and scooter show. So we're going to bring you some scooters. Now, you might recognise this one. That's if you were watching the programme early on in the year. And that is this Kymco 125 Ego. I road tested it. In fact, Paul and I argued over who was road testing it, because in actual fact we both love it. This little silver version, 125, is at £2,500. Good value for money. To better that, now is available a 250 version. I'll show it you, come over here. And that's this baby. Looks just the same, because it is very much just the same. Lovely bit of kit, not quite a super scooter, not a big one, just a little bigger than the average little one, the 50cc's, the 100s, 250cc engine. Goes very, very quick indeed. Good value for money, would you believe, for less than 3,000 quid.
Now, I like my bikes big, but just look at this Boss Huss, absolutely enormous thing. The tank is nearly 3 foot across. It weighs half a ton, but it doesn't feel like it. 5.5 litre Chevy V8 motor, absolutely enormous. It'll do 200 miles an hour on the Bonneville salt flats, but I don't think you're going to do that in the UK. But isn't it absolutely enormous? Look at the radiator, you could use that in your lounge, for God's sake. But it's costing you about £43,000, but not this one, because this one's sold.
Now here's a bike that's loved by many, yes, true, but also, fair to say, hated by a lot of people, the Honda Goldwing. People say they're too big, they're too heavy, they're big, they're clumsy, they're not fast, they don't handle. All of those things completely wrong, totally untrue. Believe me, I'm speaking from experience. Done a lot of miles on these and they're a smashing bike. This is the new model here now at the show. Massively different, massive being the operative word, because engine size has gone up, would you believe, to 1800 cc's, in fact 1832 cc's. Still the same engine configuration as the previous 1500 model, flat 6-cylinder, but it's now fuel injected, so promises to be even smoother than before. Most of the changes aren't apparent, well, apart from the looks, obviously. It looks a bit different, but it's still instantly recognisable as a Goldwing. You'll see it going down the road, the new one, and you won't go, what's that? Is that one of them new wings? Straight away you'll say it's a Goldwing, but it's the new one. So sort of the same but different, if that makes sense. But all the changes aren't obvious until you look close. And if you look down here, different frame for the first time now on a Goldwing. Look at this, twin spar aluminium frame, eh? So we're going sporty on the old wing now. Single-sided swing arm under there, and the radiator that used to sit behind the front mudguard that everybody put the fairy lights round, that's gone, and that's up here now. In fact, there's two. There's one there and there's one on the other side. Side-mounted radiators, sort of VTR style. Very, very nice. Still got all the usual luggage space, and I just want to show you this. What's this here? What's that pannier down there? If you're familiar with the Goldwing, you'll know that when you release the panniers underneath this top box, they go and they flap like that. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? Even a hydraulic strut there now to damp it as it opens. Very, very nice. Some lovely touches. All the usual goodies on the Goldwing that you'd expect. Dual linked CBS braking system, ABS, cruise control, reverse gear. But that's a little bit different now, because on the old 1500s, you'll know if you've owned one that the reverse gear is on a lever on the left-hand side of the tank here, and you pull the lever that engages the starter motor, turns it backwards and lets you go backwards. Now all that's gone. Simple, you just press a button up there on the right hand handlebar. Electric reverse gear, eh? What will they think of next? The usual beautiful dashboard, audio system, central locking on there, electrically adjusted headlights. It's even got memories for the suspension setting. This bike has got everything you'll ever need in a motorcycle, believe me. And because it's a Goldwing, very important point is the alternator. The alternator on this throws out 1100 watts. So Goldwing owners will need that because they cover the bikes very often with fairy lights. So just think of all the bits and pieces you can light up with 1100 watts of power coming out your alternator. And being a Goldwing, of course, there's sure to be a huge catalogue, be about this thick, of aftermarket accessories. So a new one like this, stock model, on the road, somewhere about, we're not sure yet, but we think around about £13,500. But with all the bits you can bolt on it, believe me, that'll be just the start.
Now, you often get concept bikes at bike shows, but this isn't a concept, this is for real. This is the Munch Mammoth, or Mammut as the Germans would say. 2-litre engine, 260 brake horsepower, would you believe? It's going to cost you around about 50 grand, but what a monster. But there's a lot of technology in there. And boy, oh boy, you'd be the only one on the block with that one.